Greetings, fellow investigators, and welcome back to our video podcast, Into the Darkness, where my friends and I play the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. I'm your host, Tom Rayleigh. Our scenario is entitled The Secret of Castronegro, and it was written by Mark Pettigrew and Sandy Peterson. It's part of a collection entitled Ghastly Adventures and Erudite Lore. I'm your GM, and this is episode 5. Ken Trench has prepared another enjoyable little video recap, so without further delay, let's begin our journey into the darkness.
After the shot in the dark, Harlow was knocked unconscious. Fortunately, it was just an accident. He hit his head on the way down when that bullet ricocheted off the wall of the hotel. The owner of the hotel took it upon himself to help by contacting the sheriff. That wasn't the best move. That sheriff was an idiot. He threatened us, saying there were strangers that were causing the trouble in the town. I've met that kind before. He was interested in keeping the town quiet, a peaceful town. Everybody didn't bother anybody, so he thought. Well, I know better. It's not like that. Julius was spooked with the whole incident. He wanted to leave first thing in the morning. So we decided to rest up and go to the chapel the next day. But some of us had a restless night's sleep with disturbing dreams that couldn't be remembered in the morning. However, we pulled ourselves together in the morning, got up and headed across to the chapel to see Father Alonso again, to see if we could get any more information and a good lead.
Arriving at the church, we fully expect the Father to be providing Mass for his few parishioners, but Father Alonso is nowhere to be seen. As we wander through the building, our attention is drawn to an open door at the side of the church, leading, we assume, to the bell tower. A chill air reaches us as we approach. Julius Lane suggests this is a possible vantage point for the shooter the night before. That man seems to be getting smarter. I ascend the creaking steps alone, not wanting to attract any unwanted attention. An unease begins to grip me. Is it the cold air? Or will I find evidence of our would-be assassin? I shine my flashlight around so as not to miss my footing, and because I'm fully aware that our enemy is still unseen and unknown. I feel cold beads of sweat on my face as I enter the top of the stairs into the room of the tower. The room at the top is pitch black, save for a few slight strips of light entering from the slats in the tower walls. I begin to move my flashlight around and hold my breath as I see a disturbing image of a twisted and distorted figure. It's a grotesque statue, emaciated, exaggerated and ugly, shrouded like death, pointing into the distance. The hair in the back of my neck stands. I feel uneasy. The air is thin, musty. The statue is like this town, sinister. I feel out of my depth. Then I hear it, a whisper on the wind. I get the hell out of there and descend the steps as quick as I can to the others. Hisney and Haston go and check out the tower, but nothing new is found. We gather together and I pull myself together for our next port of call, the La Tumba Curio Shop. The proprietor, Filippo Diaz, a man in his 60s or 70s, tall, hunched over, and of course with those green eyes, deals in specialty orders of an unusual nature. It appears Godfrey did visit his shop and did order a book later, the one that Lane now holds. This shop is full of dead ends and creepy, disturbing curios, strange books and items on the shelves. I find a book that shows pictures of what appears to be cannibalism, a sinister recipe book of death. I think I'm driving Hisney mad with my uneasy finds. Hasten by some statuettes and we head on to the library, our last port of call that day. Finally, we arrive at the Castronegro Library, a small 2-story building more modern than most in the town. The pale librarian gives us a use of the library and the reading rooms, apart from, he says, room number 2, which is privately used. I glance in the doorway to that room on the way by, and I see stacks of occult books, including a replica of the German one that Lane is carrying. That librarian shuts that door in my face. The silence in the people in this town is killing me. Makes me want to kill one of them. Anyway, this is what we find. Harlow finds evidence of early conflict around the church in its early days. Hisney finds history of a tribe of Indians unrelated to the rest, who raised stone monoliths around the hillside around the town, with gods of Nirob and Yohoso. I dig into the Diaz family line and find a strangeness from 1730. Every time a male child, another Bernardo, is born, every 30 years exactly, and 20 years after that, the old Bernardo dies. I've no idea what that means, but it's one of the strangest things I've seen. Haston looks at the newspaper archives and finds in the last 100 years over 200 infants have reportedly gone missing, perhaps more, as well as more stories of cattle killings regularly every month on every ranch around the district. Castronegro is a dark place. It's a place of death, and there may be more death to come yet.
Excellent. Okay. So, you guys have just finished in the library, or you're still in the library. What would you like to do next?
Mr. Steele, I'm starting to feel I felt my element before. Now I'm feeling like I got in way over my head here. I'm not quite certain what to do in a situation like this. You know, we came all the way up here and it seems like everything's just running into dead ends.
I agree. I agree. And I think, professors, we really need your help on this case, because we came here to find two missing men. And at the moment, we're faced with a town who seems to want to keep its doors locked and its information secret. And there's something hell of a dark going on in this part of the country.
Dr. Harlow, did you have any ideas with the study of the forensics?
Not a lot for me to study at this point in time, but I do agree. I think we've stepped into something that's a lot bigger than we expected. I would suggest we find some way where we can step away and regroup our thoughts. I don't think at this stage we're going to get too far into much of anything else around here. The locals are tight-lipped and things going down, but nobody's going to talk. I would not necessarily say let's leave town, but maybe leaving town might, at least for a while, might calm things down and give us a chance to figure out where we're going to come to next. And if we have to come back after, people have cooled down here and maybe take a different approach, that might be more beneficial.
You think we should go back to Silver City, or is this? I'm kind of curious now that we're up here. What what those stone kind of like monuments were all about, and I wondered if maybe Professor was interested in those. Maybe that was something that drew his attention out this way.
Honestly, I don't know much about these stone monuments. I'm still trying to get my bearings after waking up here. Head's a little foggy still. What stone monuments are you talking about?
Well, I'm just looking through the notes that I was making as we were reading there, and apparently the some of the real early inhabitants of this area had, I don't know, was there 3 or 4 of these things outside of town? And I'm looking, like I said, I'm looking for my notes here, but apparently it was some sort of interest because we ran across details on it.
Okay.
It was an old tribe unrelated to the other Indian tribes, so that may be of real interest to yourselves. In the hillside are above the town.
Yeah, I think they referred to them as monoliths. Yeah, to some sort of deities
Monoliths?
named Nehurab and Yohoso.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, it wouldn't do any harm. It wouldn't do any harm while we're here. If you guys want to investigate that, we'll certainly accompany you, because remember, we've already been shot at once. I think we need to go armed, and I'm happy to help protect you guys, because I feel in one sense responsible for drawing you all into this location and into this investigation.
Can I make? Go ahead, Doctor.
I was just going to say, I feel like we're getting pieces of information, but at the same time, I keep thinking about Gregory, that, or Mr. Godfrey, that, the man's missing and we don't know what's happening. Like, he might be in dire trouble right now.
Yes.
And yet we're looking at stone monoliths and library books. And I'm not against this sort of research, but at the same time, I feel like we need to find a more focused, if that makes any sense.
Oh, it does. It definitely makes sense. And I wish I understood a little bit more about, how to find missing people, so I knew what to look for. But I mean, that's, I understand archaeology and anthropology, not how to find missing people. And so I'm just thinking of things that he might have been interested in, and and if he was trying to find out about the early inhabitants of this area, I thought maybe that's why those monoliths might be a place to go to versus just backtracking to somewhere we've already been.
Do we know where those monoliths are located, or are we going to have to try and dig that information out from our tight-lipped townsfolk?
Tom, can you fill us in there? I'm not certain if we actually got the locations on that. You're muted.
Which locations?
For the monoliths. Did we find that out when we got the information about where the locations of the monoliths were?
No. It was very sketchy. It said at least one monolith was erected by these Indians, but it doesn't give you any idea of where. And it also mentions that the Apaches wiped this tribe out. Sometime in the 1600s, I believe.
Yeah, 1650.
Something around 1650, yeah.
I mean, and it's pretty disappointing that the boy that went missing from here, his family doesn't even seem to want to help us out.
Mm-hmm.
It says that a few of their stones can still be found on the rough hills around Castronegro.
I think, Professor Hisney, you've got a really good point about finding Godfrey and also David Lane. My gut feeling is that the powers that be in this town know a lot more than they're saying.
Yeah.
I would also like to take a visit to the tobacconist shop and put some pressure on there. However, my concern is, that's my natural instinct, but my concern is if I do that, then the law is going to come down on us, and we're going to have more problems in the town because we've already had a bad experience.
Yeah.
So the one lead we do have for Godfrey that we've not looked at, which isn't here, is that he was on the train to Silver City, from one of the towns in between the town to Silver City, when he went missing.
Yeah, between Las Cruces and Silver City, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, thanks. It's Las Cruces. Yeah. So between those two locations, and that's not a long distance, he disappeared. So where we find that information is a good question, but we could maybe go to the railway or maybe go to Las Cruces to have a look about there. remember the story that we were told originally from the young man on the train was that there was two kind of Indian-looking gentlemen with him, with green eyes. Surprise, surprise. And and the professor seemed to be drunk. Was he drunk or was he drugged?
Yeah.
You know? And he went missing. To me, it sounds like they threw him off the train while it was moving.
Tom, in our relations with the professor, did he was he a casual drinker? Is that really out of character for him to have maybe been a little tipsy midday?
No, it's prohibition. He wouldn't have drank.
Okay, so okay, gotcha.
He was an outstanding professor, so he wouldn't have jeopardized his position.
Wouldn't have wanted to make a public scene or be caught doing something like that. Then, yeah.
Go ahead and do an idea roll.
A success for me.
That's a success. Just a regular.
Okay.
Success almost hard, but high up there.
I'm kind of pointing out maybe the obvious that you probably already realized, but in every case, it would seem like the person, whoever it was abducted, and by green-eyed, black-haired people. Not necessarily thrown off the train. If he was thrown off the train, they would have found his body.
Fair enough. Unfortunately, we're going about a town where every single person has green eyes.
Well, Juan Herrera doesn't have green eyes.
Yeah. He's the only good guy in the town. Come on.
That's already.
Okay. The question is, do I follow my gut instinct and start putting pressure? I really feel like this town's like a powder keg, and I think if we put the pressure in the right places, we'll get results, but we'll also get some comeback, off of.
My concern here is that if we put too much pressure, the locals will come and turn on us. And if the locals are involved with our missing people, what's to say that they wouldn't try to have us missing?
As we stand around either in or outside the library or around that area, I remind you guys that I passed, remember the reading rooms? When I passed reading room number 2, that I could see that those books were those kind of occult books that some of which are in the shop, and I'm convinced that I saw one that was also the same book that Julie's Lane's carrying about, the German book. And that library manager shut that door in my face.
Which I don't mean. I hope you don't take this the wrong way, Mr. Steele, but with your profession, I'm wondering if by chance you have the ability to pick locks?
It's not something that I've...
You're above board. I understand. No need to explain.
Yeah, it's not something... I know some of the guys in my line of work do that. I tend to use my fists a little bit more.
Gotcha.
I'm a boxer.
Yeah. Well, what about the I forgot the name of it, but the bar, the not the hotel restaurant, but the
Sancho's.
Yeah.
Cantina, yeah.
I think if
you guys check that place out?
Did Joshua say he was going back there on his own? I can't remember.
Maybe that's where Julius went now. He's maybe away to the bar. Yeah.
Could be.
Why we can't find him. Well, I'll be honest with you.
I'm wandering about.
I'm not opposed to you putting pressure. I just don't know when to say when. Like you said, there's a danger to it getting out of control. So, And I look around at the rest of our professors here. I'm not sure any of us are really situated to back you up.
Do any of you have guns?
Well, there is that, yeah.
What about this situation with the monoliths? I know it sounds like going out for a day trip, but could it be that Godfrey may have been up there and left some clue of being around that area? It doesn't explain his disappearance from the train, though. You know, but
Or maybe he found out something over there, and that's why he was heading out on the train before he got taken away.
I should clarify something, that where you are right now is really part of the Gila National Forest. At least that's where Castronegro is. So it's not like a desert out there. It is a desert. It's dry and it doesn't rain much, but there are trees and greenery everywhere. So the hills around you are kind of, carpeted in greens and browns mostly, but there are trees, pine trees. You're high up.
So it wouldn't be like looking out across a flat
No.
surface and just being able to pick out where a monolith is sitting at.
Yeah. If it was the desert, you could go, well, there's one, and there's one.
so do
I've
we
been to
return-
the. Yeah.
Sorry, when you go.
No, I'm just saying out of character. I've been to the Gila. It's think of forest, but on mostly evergreens and really dry.
So
Well,
do
I wonder
we
if the priest hasn't been unfriendly to us. I wonder if the priest or the innkeep could point us in that direction if that's what we really want to check out.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Okay, that sounds fair.
Come on, Ford. If you've been there before, you know where the monoliths are.
Of course, but I can't say in character.
Okay.
You can say by private message.
No, you can't even do that, or there will be consequences.
Well, I don't know about the rest of you guys, but I don't trust that priest.
To be honest, gentlemen, I don't trust anybody local here.
Yeah.
And from what you've been telling me and what little interactions I've had, it's pretty darn cold over here, and I just got an uneasy feeling. And with the shot, I think that shot was a warning to us to get out.
What do you think? What if Godfrey was run out of town, like they're trying to do with us? Maybe
If he was run out of town, then they probably wouldn't have taken an interest in him. But it just seems more and more the way I'm thinking about it is that maybe I'm going out on a limb here, but it sounds like Godfrey found something and they did not want him talking about it.
That ties in with David Lane as well, because you might remember the librarian said he seemed to be in a hurry to move on. So the two of them may have found something of interest which wasn't liked around this area. I've got a suggestion. Why don't you guys go and speak to the respectable priest, and I'll go and try and find Lane, and the two of us could go and see the tobacconist, buy some cigarettes, and put some pressure on to see if there's any other bits of useful information we can obtain.
Yeah.
Sounds fair to me.
maybe before we leave the library, could I check? We have those names of those gods, the ones you mentioned, Nairab and Yohoso.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I wonder if there's any local folklore books that we could look those names up.
Go ahead and do a library roll for me.
Oh boy. I failed by 10.
Can we each attempt that?
No, I don't think so, because it's an obscure piece. It just counts as you guys looking. Yeah, I sometimes I let you do luck spending, but like 5 is my maximum usually, not 10. you don't really find anything other than the reference that you already found. Talking about, yeah, that's
Okay.
all that you find on that.
Sure. All right. Split the party.
I'm good with it. I'll make a suggestion, professors. If you're speaking to the priest, maybe just drop into the conversation. We've been to the library, and does he use one of the reading rooms on a regular basis? Is he the one that's using room number 2? You know.
That's good idea.
If we can find that out, then he may be friendly, but he may also be a little bit more sinister than we thought.
Just kind of curious, since I've been out of it here for a while, have you guys been to any other places in town here? Or talked with any of the locals while I was out?
Not a lot, no. We didn't really go anywhere. Church, and you caught up with us, yeah.
And you didn't have a good encounter with the cop, with the policeman. The cop.
Yeah.
He came to see us.
Surprise me.
Yeah, he came to see us at the inn and just was very unhelpful.
That man was an idiot. He's one of the ones I'm wanting to poke in the face with this fist.
Yeah.
We interviewed the shop owner for the Tomba.
Mm-hmm. What was he like?
Yeah, didn't necessarily give us much at all. Matter of fact, a lot of things he didn't quite seem to know what he had. He was almost like a dealer who you have to tell him what you want, and then he would try to go find it. But he doesn't necessarily, like, we would ask him questions about some of the things he had in his shop, and he didn't quite seem to give us any solid answers.
That's very odd.
Like, for example, we found a gramophone, one of those wax cylinders.
Yeah.
But then he doesn't have a gramophone to play it on, so he had no idea what the recording was of. Interesting. Just gets odder and odder here, you know?
So
I'd like to check out the...
Sorry. Go ahead.
I'd like to check out the Latumba there if we have a chance. Depending we don't get shot at again.
Professor, can you read Latin at all?
Little basic.
I found a particularly interesting book over there you should check out about cannibalism. I just read it from the pictures. I couldn't read the Latin, obviously. I'm not schooled that way, so you might want to.
I know some little basic bits of Latin, but that was never one of my high points, unfortunately.
It looked like some kind of cannibal's recipe book.
And
that's disconcerting.
And Sam found it very disconcerting because he took some loss.
Yeah. But I made sure that I showed Professor Hisney the book as well because I didn't want him to miss out, you know.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Okay, guys. Well, what about we meet in about half an hour? If you're going to speak to the priest, yeah.
Back at the hotel.
Or the bar if you want. Over the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, let's do the tobacconists first. Is that where you said you wanted to go?
Yes. Tom, and is it wise for me to go and try and find Lane to back me up here? Or are we just letting him have a wander just now?
Well, you don't know even where to look at this point. He's wandered off somewhere. You figure...
Okay.
You know.
Okay.
He can handle himself.
Well, I'll make sure that I've got Bob and Betsy in my waistcoat.
Okay.
And I head down with a mean look on my face.
Well, now from the library, it's just a little ways down Church Street to the tobacconists. And then across the churchyard to Latumba.
Okay.
If you want to do it in that order. And of course, for the rest of you, the church is just across the street from where you are right now. All right. So those of you heading over to the tobacconists, the Villela Pereira Tobacco Shop. Refresher, Philip Villela Pereira is the owner. So when you walk in, there's a little ding ding, from the door. And he comes from a back room. He's not actually behind the counter. He comes from a back room and comes out and he says, gentlemen, what can I do for you?
Well, I order some cigarettes. I say, well, could I buy some of your best cigarettes?
Chesterfields? Sure.
Yeah, that sounds great. We'll have some of
So
them.
he pulls those down and rings it up matter-of-factly. And anything else?
So, how are things going? Any news about your nephew yet? Since we last spoke?
Oh, nothing so far.
I say, is this town the kind of place that people tend to go missing from?
What's that supposed to mean?
I mean, we're looking for 2 missing people ourselves, and it seems like nobody wants to talk or nobody wants to help out. In fact, the sheriff didn't even want to help out at all.
Well, I don't know anything about that. Gentlemen, is there anything else you want?
Can I do a psychology on this guy
Sure.
to see if he's just a grumpy character or if he's being evasive? Or yeah, that's a pass.
He definitely doesn't want to answer your questions.
I get a little bit closer in his grill, and I say, hey, look, we need to find 2 missing people. And just about everybody we meet in this town is tight-lipped. And I put some intimidation on. And I say, somebody needs to give us a hand here. And I got an idea of who's in control in this town. But if you don't help out, there may be consequences.
And he just sort of looks at you strangely and he says, I said, I don't know anything about that. Now either buy something or leave.
Can I put a bit of intimidation on? For a bit more pressure?
Sure. And try.
It happens to be one of my good skills. That was a hard success.
Okay. He can see that you're desperate and serious. And he says, look, I can't tell you anything about those other people. I don't know anything. He says, all I can tell you is that my good-for-nothing nephew is gone, and I'm not really that surprised. What he was doing in Silver City, I haven't a clue, but we stick together in this town, and he chose to leave. So he probably got mixed up in something.
So there are consequences for those who don't want to stick together in part of the town, yeah?
Well, this is a safe place for us.
Safe from what?
This is our hometown.
And what do you need to be safe from here?
The evils of the world that are out there.
Okay, any particular kind of evils?
Talk to the priest.
Okay.
It's all hell and brimstone out there. Let's leave it out there. We've lived here for what, 400, 300 years? And this is where we belong. The world eats you up when you go out there. And so I'm not surprised. He was a troublemaker.
I try and placate him a little bit and say, I've got to apologize. I'm under pressure. I'm actually being employed to find these men, and we've just felt like nobody's really wanted to help us. So I'm sorry, you've got the wrong end of my frustration here.
Well, I'm under a lot of stress, so I am too. Just I got to get back to what I was doing. I'm organizing my back. Buy something or
Okay,
move
well,
on.
I say, well, give me another packet of cigarettes for the hard time I've given you, and I'll leave him a tip.
All right. Did any of you smoke?
I think it's just him there.
All right.
I'm buying an extra packet with all of Julius's extra money I've been getting off him, so it's fine. It's all good.
And
On the way out, I kind of just feign a passing interest, and I know the little figurines that were mentioned before that some of the guys spotted. I say,
mhm.
what are these interesting little figurines you have up here?
And he looks up there and just sort of gives them half a glance and says, "Decorations."
Okay, Doc. Okay, I head out of there and I go outside.
All right. All of you do a listen roll.
Can't hear a thing.
No.
A hard success.
Okay. Any of the rest of you got a success? Nope. Okay. With your psychology roll, you could see that he probably knows something. But he's either not willing or not able to say. But as you guys are leaving the door, as the door is swinging closed, you hear him mutter something. This is Sam, because you're a detective. You're listening.
I'm a sharp guy.
You hear him mutter something. And what it sure sounds like is wasn't even good enough to be buried in the family vaults.
Okay. As suspected. What I want to do is, look as if we're heading out. I don't. Is it just me, or are all the professors with me, or are you guys?
They're not all with you, but
yeah. Okay.
Some of them went to the church.
I want to kind of look as if I'm going there, but kind of meander off to the side and just kind of keep an eye in the back of the house, because I remember the first time I visited, there was noise. There was somebody in the back shop. There was something else going on. So I want to see if there's any kind of commotion and begin to side up to the back of the shop and see if I can listen in, if there's anything else going on, any conversation.
Go ahead and do a listen roll.
Oh, I'm gonna put a point of luck onto that. I've got just one over, so a point of luck. So that's a pass.
You're pretty sure he's talking to somebody in the back room.
I want to kind of stealth up and try and get maybe behind a wall or something, whatever's at the back of the building, to try and get really close.
Well, the building itself is probably brick and adobe, so you can't hear through it, but you can hear through the back door is made out of metal.
Is there a window nearby?
There's no windows on the back. There's a garbage can, and you just can't hear through the door. You can hear that he's talking to somebody, but you can't hear who he's talking to.
Well, it's as I suspected. I suggest to whoever's with me that we join up once the professors have spoken to the priest. Okay.
Well, and you guys were going to head across to Latumba as well. All right, let's jump to the gentleman talking to the priest. You arrive at the church, and it's unlocked. When you step inside, it's empty. So you're pretty sure the priest is probably in the room on the side that he normally is in. What would you guys like to do?
Well, I'd want to proceed to that door that's up there on the, I think it was to the left of the altar, and just give a quick knock.
Okay. When you walk up to the door, you can see that it's not closed all the way. You can see light coming from inside. And as you knock on the door, when you knock, the door sort of swings open. And you can see that the priest was setting, there's a desk, and he was reading a book. And he just immediately stands up and he says, "Oh, yes, you're Mr. Harlow, was it?"
I'm Mr. Harlow. This is Mr. Hast and Mr. Hisney here. Yes.
What can I do for you, gentlemen?
My compatriots had
And
some
I
stuff.
step into the room. Instead of letting him come out, I step into the room.
Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Did you have a question, gentlemen?
Oh, Dr. Harlow, I thought I cut you off.
No.
Okay. Well, actually, Father, we were here because we found out some more stuff that we think might be linked to our missing family and associate here. Are you familiar with some sort of stone monoliths that are around the town in the hills somewhere?
Oh, I think I've heard that. I don't go wandering much up into the woods.
So you're not sure where they are necessarily?
No. I as I recall, somebody once said that they were out walking and they just stumbled on one, but I don't know where that was.
Okay. Do you recall if they said they were actually close to town, or was it quite a ways out?
I don't think they really said.
Okay. I can appreciate that. And again, if this wasn't so urgent for us to try to locate our associates, I wouldn't dare bother you like this. I feel really bad about having to keep coming back here, so I apologize for our intrusion.
No. Any time.
Yeah. We also happen to stop into the library, and they've got quite a nice little collection over there. It's a nice library for a town this size. Yes,
indeed.
Yeah. Yeah, we enjoyed reading, some about the local history. We're glad that you've got a nice librarian there. Do you make it over there very often?
Occasionally I take out books, yes, and read them.
Okay. Do you read or use any of the office space there that they have available?
No, not usually.
Okay. It looked like somebody was really making use out of one of the rooms in there. We saw lots of books, and it seemed to be marked off as private. Yeah. Any idea who's been doing research in there?
You're talking about reading room number 2?
I believe that was it, yeah.
I think that is reserved for members of the Diaz family direct, like if Bernardo, the 6th, has things that he collects or needs, he keeps them there. But yeah, it's a private. It's like a private, small private library. That one room. There's not a lot of books, but.
Pardon me, Father. Is there a way we could get in touch on a friendly basis with Bernardo the 6th? Maybe to talk
I don't
with
think
him?
that's a good idea at all.
Okay.
Bernardo is I guess the word is xenophobe, or
I understand completely. I understand. Is there anybody in the family who'd be willing to, just talk with us, or
most of the town? People are related. either to the Diaz's or the Villela Pereiras. There's a few families that came after that, like the Herreras and the Garcias. But they're all related in one way or another. There's some that are there's some that are like family proper, and then there are some people that are just on the outskirts.
Father, if you don't mind me asking, who occupies the seat of town leader or mayor here?
Well, we don't really have a mayor, but if anybody, it would be Bernardo Diaz.
Okay.
He's more the owner than anything else.
Owner.
I mean, he owns most of the buildings in the town.
Fair enough.
That's why you find so many Diaz's and Villela Pereiras running the stores and the shops.
He doesn't own the church building, does he?
No. Technically, the Catholic Church owns the church building.
Indeed.
Okay. Well, I noticed we interrupted your reading today. Were you into anything interesting?
Well, just more an exercise in my abilities to translate Latin. It's an old form of Latin, and he points over to the book, and you can see that it's written in Latin, but the characters are odd. It almost looks like there's additional characters in there besides what you would consider Latin, or it's possibly, German is a pretty strange looking language when it's a really old form of German. It could be Latin written with German letters or something like that. But there is something that looks odd about it. He says, ever since, when was Vatican II? That's the 60s, isn't it? So I guess he would be pretty fluent in Latin because the Mass would still be being done in Latin.
Yeah.
So yeah, he says, I'm always trying to brush up on my Latin and keep it going.
Good idea.
Anyways, if there's anything that you need or you need to discuss with me, I'm always open.
You mentioned before that a lot of the town has changed parish and gone to another parish quite a ways away from here. Have you any idea why they would not come to the church here? Has there been like some kind of issue or something going on with the families where they don't feel comfortable?
I really can't say for sure. I thought at first that my dwindling parishioners had mostly to do with the fact that the church can be rather cold in the mornings. I think now it says they're going 20 miles away to some other church. I don't actually have details on that church or anything.
Right.
He'll probably say they probably have central heating.
Okay. So more modern facility?
Yeah. More modern than one built in the 1600s. Yeah.
Right. No, I understand. I guess a lot of older people then, kind of looking for comfort.
That and curious younger people occasionally. I don't see them more than a few times before they decide that it's too cold to go elsewhere.
But do you get any spikes in membership? Like around specific holidays, like Easter or throughout the summertime, when it is warm and a little bit more accommodating?
I suppose Christmas time I get a few more parishioners, and Easter I have a few more parishioners. I think that this is not a great thing to say, but I think the vast people that walk through those doors over there are people like you who have stumbled upon Castronegro and just decide they want to take a look inside the church.
No, fair enough.
Father Alonso, when the missing local boy. I believe his name was it Joaquin?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did he come over by any chance?
No, he wasn't much of a churchgoer.
Okay.
Mm.
It seemed like he wasn't on the best of terms with his own family, so didn't know if perhaps the family was going to church outside of town that he tried to come here. Okay.
People in this town are set in their ways, and the older people expect the younger people to take over what they've built here. It's not surprising when younger people want to just leave town and go somewhere else.
Mm-hmm. Well, with the economic boom in the country, it's quite understandable. I mean, Bright Lights of Albuquerque brought in a lot of people from the surrounding areas.
From what I understand, it's just up and up and up from here for years and years and years to come.
Mm.
Did you by any chance are you familiar at all with the family lineage of the Diaz family? We found some interesting records about it seemed like almost on a regular basis or a very repetitive basis about the way that a new son was born into the family, and then they would pass on. The older would pass on.
You're talking about the Diaz family, the current Bernardo. Mm-hmm. Yes, it's a strange family tradition. They name their firstborn son always Bernardo to continue the tradition, and 60's a rather good age to pass on to the next world.
Mm-hmm. Just seemed really consistent. I wasn't sure if perhaps there was a physical component that led to that. Do you know of them having any particular ailments or deformities?
Well, I know that you've probably yourself noticed the dark hair and the green eyes
everywhere.
That's a very powerful component in both the Diaz and the Villela Pereira. It goes all the way back to Spain. And because of the closed circuit of the town and the interbreeding, you might say, it seems to be everywhere. Other than that, well, there are a few. You said deformities. It's not a very nice word, but there are definite facial characteristics. Big teeth. As they grow older, they tend to develop sort of a hunchback, if you will. They tend to be somewhat tall, relative to the others around them. But those are just family traits that have carried through.
I apologize for the social misstep. English is kind of a second language for me, and maybe
I don't mean it. I don't mean it that way. It's just it's not. It's all right. As far as the actual Diaz family, I don't know them directly. I know members of the family, but the major components of the family, the what you might call the noble members of the family, they don't come to church. So
Father,
if you look out in our cemetery, none of the Villela Pereiras or Diaz's that are buried there are members of that branch.
Well, where are those family members buried?
There's a family vault.
Is that on private property somewhere?
Oh yes, it's actually I've got the directions here somewhere, but it's actually in that direction. It's if you get to the top of the hill and you look down, you'll see another hill, and it's built into the side of the hill. Is
it next to a homestead?
Yes, it's not too far from from the Diaz home, which you can also see when you step out of the church. It's the big scary black house on the hill over there. He doesn't say that, but it's the big villa on the hill
Father,
in that direction.
In your opinion, I mean, we do believe we were shot at last night. Do you think if we were to spend much more time around town or looking for signs of our missing, family and associate here, that we're likely to get shot at again, or someone to make an attempt on our life? Do you know if the family is that kind of protective?
Let's hope that somebody was just out shooting rabbits, or and a stray bullet missed you, and thank God that it missed you. Otherwise, I don't think that anybody here would ever resort to that kind of tactic, but perhaps somebody's trying to scare you away. I don't know.
That's what I was kind of thinking.
You said that it happened relatively late in the evening, yes?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. People go to bed early around here because, electricity is expensive, and some people don't have electricity. So they go to bed when the sun goes down, or not too far thereafter.
Other than the cattle ranching that goes on out here, are there many other ways to get employment?
Well, other than a job in town.
Yeah, like at the stores or the bar?
I'd say probably, well, the Herrera Hotel employs, I think, just 3 people, other than one. There's a couple of maids and I think, a guy who works in the kitchen. Maybe 4 people. I'm not sure. Maintenance man. Juan probably does all the maintenance. Sancho's probably employs a few people to be assistants in serving guests.
Do you have a mortuary, or who performs that kind of work, or a funeral type home?
We don't have a funeral home. I do burial rites if it's anybody other than the primary Diaz's or Vallela Pereira's. I think that they do funerary rites themselves if somebody dies. It's not necessarily in cahoots with New Mexican law, but we're out here in the middle of nowhere.
It sounds like this town has its own law.
Well, in a ways it does. It's like the Wild West. I know that if something, at least in my case, that the doctor has to be present to sort of confirm that the person is dead. We don't have a coroner.
You do have a town doctor?
Oh yeah.
Where does he work out of?
Doctor. Where are you, doctor?
We might need this for more than one reason.
Dr. Carlos Vallela Pereira. And if you look on, he's like on the back side of the behind the chapel, over on
like the north side of it,
Pico Avenue. No, on the east side.
Okay.
Yeah. And he's just sort of a general practice doctor. He treats members of the town that have colds and whatever.
But he would also to do death certificates or something like that?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
If it came down to it. Cause of death, things like that.
Does he do autopsy type work, or or embalming?
No, I don't think that we don't do. No, now I'm speaking as the GM. I don't think they would do autopsies, or they might not do any kind of embalming. They might
Okay.
just keep them in the ground ASAP.
Yeah, if not, it's going to start stinking pretty quick in the heat out there.
Yeah, within 3 days. I think the rule is you got to get them in the ground within 3 days. They probably have a place where they can put the body. I lived in New England, and in New England, you could see if you went by a cemetery, there were often little hillocks, and they had vault doors in the front of them, so you could put the body in there. If, let's say, it was winter and the ground was too hard to bury them, you'd stick them in there for the winter, and then in the springtime, you'd bury them.
Oh, like a temporary vault then.
Like a temporary vault. So they would have something like that as well. A temporary vault at the cemetery.
And the cemetery is just next door to the church also, right?
Right, correct.
Okay. Well, thank you, Father. I really appreciate you making time for us.
Of course.
You've been extremely generous with,
Thank you very much.
with your words.
I don't have much else to do. So, all right. Well, if you need anything else, please drop by.
Will do, Father. Thank you very much for your time.
All right. So now you head out of the church, and as you head out of the church, you see them coming out of the tobacconists. And you're both, I guess, heading towards La Tumba again? Or did you want to talk before you get to La Tumba?
Definitely talk.
All right.
Yeah, well, professors, I put some pressure on our friendly neighborhood tobacconist, and he was very unhelpful, but he basically told me, or said in not so many words, that he had a lot of pressure on him and he couldn't really say much about the town. It didn't suggest that there was anything wrong, but I'm absolutely positive I heard him say when I left, when I asked him about the nephew, that he muttered he wasn't even good enough to be buried in the family grave. I'm absolutely positive I heard him that. I've got good hearing, I've got sharp hearing. And as Professor Hisney and myself left, I definitely heard him. I tried to kind of check round the building, but I couldn't. There was conversation going on, but that's all we could hear.
Okay.
I think that young boy's been done away with, and the family know about it.
That's horrible.
It doesn't
What about
bode
you
well.
guys? Do you remember the research in the library about the 200 infants gone missing?
Yeah, I remember you guys mentioning that.
Yeah. What about you guys? How'd you get on with the priest?
We got an interesting bit of information about bits and pieces of information about that kind of oddly lead to what you mentioned there. The cemetery. And it's kind of leads to the cemetery there, being a place where a focus, I guess you could say.
Well, maybe we should take a little look at the cemetery, because if there's a lot of people gone missing, I'd be interested to see if they're showing up in the graves or not,
Yeah.
Well, it's also a place that, well, considering that there are actual vaults here, which is very rare for anywhere in New Mexico outside the big cities, I'd say that, this is also a place where if somebody was poking around, they'd be poking around, and I wouldn't put it past anywhere two missing guys to be looking in those areas.
Are the vaults?
Not to mention that cemeteries also are spring up around important areas. So who knows? We might have one of those monoliths that you guys mentioned be a part of it, either in part or buried, or kind of like in plain sight but obscured. So that might be something to look into.
Do we know who the cemetery is at all in the town? Or is it outside the town?
Yeah, we could probably see it from where we are right now, can't we? Or we're basically outside the church, between the church and the tobacconist.
Yeah, it's right there outside the church. That's the main cemetery. The priest had indicated that if you went to the top of the hill, and he pointed north when he said that, which is also in the direction of Casa de Diaz, that you look down into the valley and you can see it. It's very clearly visible.
Yeah, as we were talking to Father Alonso, he kind of indicated that the family, they have their own burial tomb, and it's apparently by their homestead, which I didn't really understand where it was, but now that he's kind of directed over to that side of town, I've got a better idea at least where the family's situated, and I guess this tomb is, it's just restricted for family, and that the Cor de Diaz family does not want to use this central cemetery.
Yeah, I remember when we first came into Castronegro and we drove in after a couple of you guys were a little bit unwell. We drove in and I saw a big house up on the hillside, so that must be the place.
Mm-hmm.
He also go ahead.
Well, just gotta make a suggestion. Why don't you guys check out the cemetery? I'm interested in La Tumba here. I haven't been inside, and perhaps a fresh face inside the establishment there might be able to garner some further information.
That sounds like a good plan.
Okay. So you're going to walk across the churchyard to La Tumba, and the rest of you are going to continue on to the north, heading up the hill. Okay. Let's do La Tumba first over here.
All right.
Well, to re-describe it, because you weren't here when we did it, the place is filled to the brim with all kinds of knickknacks and things. The vast majority of them seem to have an Asian bent, and there is very noticeably almost nothing in here that's Native American, which is usual for New Mexico.
Yes.
Eventually, the proprietor shows his face, and he's a little old man. His name is Filippo Diaz.
Okay.
He's tall, he's gaunt, he's old, he's gray-haired, and he's got green eyes.
Okay.
And he basically says, "Is there anything I can do to help you? Is there anything that you'd like to see?"
And I talked to him. I talked to him in Spanish specifically. Hola. Yeah, I noticed this place here and thought I'd come in and have a look.
Okay.
It's rather unusual.
He's, of course, speaking back to you in Spanish, though his Spanish is definitely Spain Spanish, not Mexican Spanish.
More Castilian.
Yes, with the THs instead of the S's or Z's.
Mm-hmm. Probably more in line with how I learned it too. So it, I just
you're welcome to look around.
Okay.
Everything is for sale.
All right. Very good. Very good. What can you tell me about your collection here? Is this part of an old parts of it an old collection? Do you have like some kind of a distributor sort of thing going on here?
80%, 90% of my work is just mail order stuff.
Mail order stuff.
Stuff comes in, stuff goes out.
Okay. Cool. If you don't mind me asking, where do you mail order from?
All over the place.
No, that's very wise to diversify.
Yeah.
So,
my things come from bizarre and obscure little places.
Oh, I understand, sir. I understand. So, if you don't mind me asking, what got you into building this shop of interesting oddities and curiosities here?
He looks at you with a strange look, like, It's an odd question. He says, I don't remember. I've just been doing this for so long. My father did it before me. The obviously the object d'art has changed over the years.
Oh, yes, indeed.
But no particular reason, just to make money to survive.
Okay, so you do pretty brisk business with items.
Fairly decent, yes.
Cool. Got, I guess, people coming in from the county and visitors like myself. And
Well, that's why they call it a curiosity shop.
absolutely. So you're pretty much inheriting the family business and carrying it on, then, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
So make yourself at home. Look around.
Absolutely.
If you have any questions, if I can answer them, I will.
Yeah. Mm.
All right, and then he sort of wanders off.
Mm-hmm. Gonna look around for anything that really jumps up at me.
Well,
out of a lot of stuff that jumps out, of course.
Go ahead and do a spot hidden for me.
You bet. Nah, I'm just in awe of all the different crazy stuff here.
Okay, do a second spot hidden for me.
That one passed. Not a hard success.
Okay. All right. So you're looking around, and part of what you're looking for is the things that they described.
Yeah.
You definitely see the little statuettes. You see a little collection of 6 of them. They're odd-looking little statuettes. They're not made out of terracotta like they are in the tobacconist. They're made out of some sort of a weird stone. When you feel the stone, it feels almost oily in your hand, but there's no residue that comes off. And they're dark, and you think maybe kind of a dark green, almost black, but in the light there's a definite greenish tone to it. Do you have any Cthulhu mythos?
No.
Okay, so you don't recognize them. And you find it difficult to even identify what culture they come from. But go ahead and do like an archaeology if you've got anything like that.
Got anthropology.
That might, maybe a little bit.
Not quite, just barely missed.
Yeah, you can't place them. Definitely Asian of some sort. Asian or Indian, somewhere in there.
My dear sir.
Yes, what can I do for you?
These statues here, are they all part of a set, or are they just no,
they're usually individuals. Those are $50 each.
Wow, that's quite a bit.
It's a rare thing that comes from India, I believe.
India.
Yeah, some sort of an idol. Kind of popular as good luck charms.
Ah, very good. Do you think you could do me 40 on it?
No.
Okay. All right, no problem.
All right. So you're continue looking around. You find the wax cylinder that's part of a gramophone. You notice that it has a symbol that you don't recognize as any a letter in a language that you're familiar with on the outside of the case. And other than that, you look around, there is no gramophone inside the shop. You find an odd statuette, the one described by Hisney. It's a very strange looking thing. It's primitive, and it's almost violent in nature, but it's a strange looking rat thing. Its face is definitely human like, and it has little hands and feet instead of what normally a rat would have. There's something that's very disturbing about it, and you need to do a sanity roll.
Passed.
Okay, just take 1 damage.
Okay.
You're also not dead sure whether it's a rat or a monkey because of the hands and the face. It almost has a monkey-like quality, but it's that sort of primitive art that you can't quite tell. That's somewhat disturbing. You find the Latin volume with cannibal pictures in it. Do you want to look through it?
Yeah, I'll have a look through it since I was told about it.
Do you want to try to do any reading?
Sure.
Because it's written in Latin.
Mhm.
Try to do a Latin roll.
Okay. Pretty sure I have Latin, but let me double check on that.
It should be under other languages.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I do have some Latin. I'll give it a go.
Okay.
I made it.
Okay. As you're reading through this book, at first it seems almost documentary kind of writing in the beginning, as if it's describing somebody's trip into a place, and they find this cannibal tribe, and they manage to dissuade the cannibals from eating them. But they begin to understand their society. This was written centuries ago. It's all written in Latin. The plates are quite disturbing. They're all woodcut illustrations. And the more you read of it, the more disturbing it gets, that they wanted to assimilate themselves into the tribe. And there comes the moment when they actually attempt joining in the feast. And then the other members of this person's party, they decide to sacrifice them all. And he finally gets to taste what one of his companions tasted like, and it gets more and more and more disturbing. So, sanity roll. It's also compelling. It makes you want to read the whole damn thing.
I failed on that one.
Okay. I'm going to make you do a 1d4. It actually says here to do a 1d6, but I just don't think streaming and running out of the building is really...
I take 4.
All right, you take 4. So it's extremely disturbing. There's also a price tag of $25. Wait. No, $80. It's on the book.
My good man. Kind of a little shaky. How much?
That I believe is $80. Everything has tags on it.
Okay. Oh, yes. I do apologize. This looks like something that a fellow of mine would be interested in. And back at work, back at the university. I think I'll pick this up.
Okay. Certainly. So he'll ring that up. Now,
I'll pay him.
As he takes that from you and goes to ring it up, you also notice there's another little book there. Looks quite a bit different. It's much smaller. And the title right on the outside of the black leather book is The Dark Angel's Kiss.
I'm going to while he's ringing that up, I'm going to kind of look at that one.
Okay. It seems to be a book of poetry. It would take a while to read it, but the price on it is $20.
Just kind of carefully put it down.
Okay. Other than that, there's just junk and stuff, or not junk, but things that are not worth mentioning. He brings the volume and hands it to you, and I'm going to just
thank you very much, sir.
That you're done and you leave, because there's not really anything.
Before I go, I want to see if there's any other books of note there other than the Angel's Kiss. And
Nothing.
Nothing. Okay. Thank you, my good man. I do appreciate it.
So the rest of you travel just a short distance out of town, always with the house sort of looming there in the distance. You travel only about a quarter mile or so, and you come to the top of the hill, and you're looking down into the valley, and the Vilela Pereira, the Diaz, Casa de Diaz, is there on another hill right ahead of you. And just to the side is another hill with a very obvious vault carved into the front of it, with classical pillars and a little, I don't know what you call it, wedgie top on top of it.
Are we highly exposed where we are now? Could we be seen very easily from the house?
Probably. Yeah. You've got the trees behind you. So unless somebody was actually staring up there, they might not. So you'd kind of blend with the trees. But if you head down towards the vault, you'll probably be seen. The road can be seen from the house. It's about the vault looks like it's about a half a mile total. The house is just over to the right of the vault.
About how large is this house? And is it opulent or is it just old? Could you describe it a little bit?
It's very much a Spanish villa. It probably looks larger than it is only because it's up on the hill, but it's only a 2-story house. And there are some rather large trees growing around it. But, it has balustrades sticking out. And so it's a combination of Spanish style and adobe. It's dark. It looks like it hasn't been painted in a long, long time. So the paint's peeling. It's from your point of view, it looks almost blackish gray.
Are there outbuildings, like barns or anything like that, close by?
Doesn't look like it. Not that you can see.
Any cars there right now?
No.
Okay. Does it have an obvious driveway going to it?
Yes. It has a driveway going up the hill, and you can see that there's a place. It looks like there's a place where you could park a car, and then there's stairs cut into the hillside going up to the house.
Oh. Well, it doesn't look like we could get down to that vault without really sticking out. I think we'd get seen pretty quickly.
I could possibly do some, during the war, I did a bit of tracking and a bit of scouting about, so I could possibly scout down if it's not too far.
I'd say that if you guys didn't walk right on the road, but maybe 20 feet to the left of the road, you'd be kind of in the woods. You still might be seen, but it'd be far less likely.
Okay, well, I just suggest to the professors, I say, why don't we scout around the side and we just stay out of view, and we'll take it slowly and just make sure we're not seen.
Yeah, if you think that's safe, yeah.
I think it's doable.
Okay. So as you come down the hill, once again, it's just another quarter of a mile or so. Why don't you all do stealth rolls?
I passed.
I did not pass.
I did not pass.
Okay. Those of you who aren't passing, you're making a lot of noise, stepping on sticks and stuff like that. As you're going down the hill, Sam, it's kind of annoying you because they're making way more noise than you want them to make.
Sure is hot out here.
Shh. Guys, this isn't a picnic. Come on. We were supposed to be keeping quiet here. I'm happy to carry on if you want. Did anybody bring binoculars or anything like that with us as part of the kit?
I think I have a pair, but they're back at the hotel.
Okay. I'm happy to scout on because you guys are like out for a picnic here today, you know?
Why don't you scout ahead? We'll wait here for Dr. Harlow to catch up to us.
Okay. Let's do that. Just keep your eye. If you see anything, if you think I'm at risk, maybe make some animal sound or something like that. Try and get my attention.
Like a chicken?
Chicken in the forest. Yeah, well, maybe, you know.
Whippoorwill.
Whippoorwills. Yeah, whippoorwills.
All right, so who's actually going down towards the vault? Just Sam?
Anyone else got some skill?
Yeah.
Okay. So the rest of you are kind of waiting. You're going to see if you can see Dr. Harlow and then get his attention and have him come where you are. Sam, you start down the hill and do you have natural world?
No. A base 10%.
Let's see how you cannot see that. Okay. So as you're going, you're definitely getting to the bottom of your hill, and ahead of you, maybe 30 or 40 feet, is the slope that goes up and makes a mound where the vault is attached to. You begin to notice something strange on the it seems as you're going that it's getting a little more difficult to make your way through the woods other than the road. The plants get a little denser, a little more tangled, and then all of a sudden, within maybe 30 feet or so of the vault itself, the plant seems to die off. The grass, if there's any grass on the ground, is withered. The plants are twisted, and the vines are they don't look healthy. There are no trees actually growing up near the vault. There are bushes that I don't know how to say it other than that they're twisted and deformed looking, and it's quite striking. And the closer you get to the actual vault itself, the less vegetation there is, so that there's nothing growing right up where the vault door is. And the vault door is a big, heavy marble slab looking thing with a big gigantic padlock and chains. Not big gigantic, but you know, it's a big lock with chains. You're not sure if they're using some sort of chemical to keep the plant life down, but you also notice that you don't hear any birds or insects or anything around it either.
So it's almost as if I'm beginning to think that either the ground's been poisoned or there's been something that's affected the plants. Not just killed the plants off, because there's also warped looking distorted,
Right.
plant life as well. So basically, though, the problem it gives me is if I was to approach the vault door, I'm totally exposed as
Yes.
far as to the house.
There'd be a direct view from the house looking down.
That's a problem. Oh boy. I want to ask the professors what they think I should do, but I know that I'm now here on my own. I haven't got a second opinion here.
Is it by now? Is it late afternoon?
Yeah,
Shadowy?
yeah, I think so.
Okay. Well, there's lots of shadows, but yeah, the hill of the vault and the vault door is pretty strongly exposed.
I decide to err on the side of caution, and I make my way back up to the professors and just to explain everything I've seen.
Okay.
I don't know. In one sense, I don't even know what we're really doing here, other than the fact that we know, gentlemen, that the controlling force in this town is the Diaz family. The conversation I heard in the tobacconist tells us that I'm convinced that they are killing off anybody who decides to reject the town way. But I describe the vegetation, I describe the vault, and I say it's probably too risky to do that. I think we'd better wait till nightfall if we were wanting to check this place out.
When you're back at the other professors and you're sort of pointing in the direction, you can actually point out places where you say, you see how the ground there becomes bare, and that there's definitely something maybe that's been sprayed on the ground there to kill the plants, or some sort of toxin that's been used to keep the plants away.
Do any of you professors have any kind of chemistry or more of the natural world kind of skills?
I do have a little bit, and can I try to make an assumption about what's going on with
Sure.
the environment from here, Tom? Is that
Sure? What are you rolling?
Natural world?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, I failed it.
Okay. At the best, you guys could guess that even something like ammonia, sprayed on the ground would probably kill most things that are growing there.
But they probably have to reapply that on a regular basis. It seems like a lot of extra effort. Yeah.
Unless they did that specifically so that they could see it easily from the house. Did you say it was locked there, Dr. Steele? I mean, Sam?
Yeah. It was locked. There was a padlock over it. So we would literally need to break in, which would then reveal that what we've been up to. I'm not a lockpick, so I can't really do that maybe without it being obvious. But again, I wouldn't want to do it. I think we'll be seen most likely. I kind of get the impression that the way the Diaz family are not interested in mingling with the commoners, even though there's the two main families. They've got their own family kind of seeded into the village, holding positions in shops, and it's like they're maintaining some kind of control over the whole area. So yeah, I think it would be dangerous to kind of expose ourselves to disappearing in the woods.
Yeah. Maybe we should get back. If Dr. Harlow's not finished yet, I think I'd like to take a quick walk through the cemetery to see if there are any fresh graves in town now. Especially if they're not marked. Based on what you shared with us, what you heard back there, I'm a little concerned that maybe they buried that boy right here in town.
Yeah. The other possibility is if the family's connected, they could have buried him not in the town where visitors would see it, but in this tomb down here.
But that's the family tomb, though. Didn't you say they were?
Yeah.
They said something to the effect that not good enough to be buried with the family, or how'd they say that again?
Yeah, he said he wasn't good enough to be buried in the family grave. So
Okay.
that suggests he's buried, but somewhere else.
Mm-hmm. That was kind of how I interpreted that.
Yeah.
And of course, if they really, I mean, yeah, of course, it doesn't even have to be in the center of town. I'm just thinking, hopefully, maybe there's some sort of sign there.
You're thinking like a detective, Professor Haston. You
And
might
I'm-
have a point.
And I'm really hoping that there's not 3 of them right there. So, 3 unmarked graves.
I'm going to throw out an idea. What do you say we all just head up to the Diaz house? Knock on the door and ask to speak with Mr. Diaz.
What are you going to ask him?
I don't know. Just introduce ourselves, tell him why we're here. We're looking for missing persons. We know that he and his family sort of run the town, maybe not directly, but indirectly. I kind of feel like it's almost like dealing with a mob boss. Like,
yeah, I agree.
Sometimes it's just more beneficial to not sneak around and just approach him directly. And I mean, not accusing, but really just like introduce ourselves, see what the house is like, see what he's like. Maybe they'll invite us in, or maybe we'll all get shot.
Well, to be honest, Tisney, that's been on my mind since we got shot at the night before. But I've been really cautious because normally I would go in there. I would go in there, my guns and temper blazing, But but because you guys are here and we had Lane with us, I felt it could have been more, more of a risky business to do it that way. But I would happily go in and, I've got 2 missing people to find. That's my job, So I'll happily go in and tell them what I'm doing here. And if any of you guys want to come with us, I'm willing to be upfront with this Diaz. But that's the hornet's nest I was alluding to. That's the powder keg,
Yeah.
This is the boss.
I kind of look at the other 2 professors to see what they think.
Well, this time I'm probably coming up to you. You probably see me coming up close by.
You can see Harlow coming. He knew which direction you were going. So.
Did you find anything interesting?
Hello, professors.
Hi, Harlow. You look a little bit shaken. Are you all right?
We'll talk about that here in a bit. We'll talk about that here in a bit. What have you all found out here?
We explained the tomb and our thoughts just now about confronting, or at least going up to tell them our business.
A lot of interesting things here. I'm not against talking with Mr. Diaz. I do believe we need to make contact, but because of the nature that we've been warned about from the priest, maybe it's a good idea to find an intermediary who is local, who is willing to work with both us and Mr. Diaz to set up a meeting where we could talk under controlled circumstances. Because I think if we just go up to the door there, we may have problems. And Mr. Diaz might be a little bit more apt to accept us if he's got someone he knows vouching for us, as opposed to a bunch of strangers just coming up there.
Well, so far the entire town's been against us except for Juan.
We haven't been to the cantina yet. If there's anybody to talk with who knows stuff, maybe they're there. Maybe someone who's not entirely connected with the families, but is connected enough to. I don't know. Maybe I've just been reading a lot of novels and stuff here, my spare time. But
I like Father Alonso. I don't think he's necessarily against us.
He could be potential for an intermediary there as well.
Did you guys not tell me, though, that the father hasn't even met Diaz himself?
I don't remember him mentioning that.
Didn't you say he's not a churchgoer or whatever?
Yeah.
May not be a churchgoer, but it's not without reason that Mr. Diaz and the father have not met and talked, because they are integral parts of the town.
Yeah, the town this small, I would assume they'd cross paths at some point. Yeah. One thought I keep having is that this town is essentially the Diaz town, and it's like we're walking around this guy's home and asking questions about them, and we're not actually talking to them. And in a way, I almost wonder, if he catches word of this, he's probably going to feel like we've disrespected him.
Well, I think he already has word about this, and I think and I'm getting to think more and more that shot at us was kind of an indication of that.
Well, it seems like there's a 50-50 chance it was someone in his family.
I should say that the sun is going to be going down soon.
You want to hit the cantina for dinner then?
Yeah, let's see who we can meet up there with, and if we don't come up with anybody who we might be able to work with and talk with Mr. Diaz or one of the other predominant citizens, we could go back and talk with the father about potentially setting up a meeting.
And we've got a mass plan for first thing in the morning if we just want to go over there and see him then.
Yeah. And on top of that, we need to find our beneficiary. I didn't see him when I was walking through the town and getting out of Latumba there. Now I'm getting a little bit concerned.
Yeah, well, hopefully, considering everything we've been talking about, he hasn't been gone missing, like everybody else.
I'm hoping he's maybe at the cantina there. But I hadn't had a chance to go over there. I was more concerned about connecting with you all.
Yeah, I think if we find the alcohol in this town, we're likely to find Mr. Lane.
More than likely.
What do you think of this idea? Here's another option. I agree. I think we should go down to the cantina. I think we should try and engage and hear any local gossip if it's possible. I agree with Hisney. I think we should, or at least a couple of us. I think we might need to be careful about all of us speaking to him, but we might need to have somebody speaking in the morning and somebody else having the truck with the engine running in case we need to get out of here, But
it's a sound thing there. Sound thing.
But I'm also really intrigued about this tomb down here, and I'm wondering if, with the sun going down, if I should hang about and we should check it out in darkness, or should we head into town? What do you think?
Well, I have to admit, I'm a little curious about the state of the plants that you mentioned there. That's kind of odd, but it's risky going over there. Town, we might have a little bit more safety, but...
Or do we wait till we see the king of the castle in the morning in his house?
Like I said, I'd recommend finding someone who could speak for us to the king, as it were, and set up an arrangement to discuss with him or one of his representatives. If he doesn't want to deal with us personally. Just let him know that all we're doing is looking for our people. We don't want to upset anything, and we apologize if we have upset anything. And see if we can maybe get a lead.
So what are we doing? Heading down to town, or do you think we should hold on and check this place out? The tomb.
I am personally all about town, and I would like to discuss what I encountered at Latumba there.
Okay, well, why don't we head into town and is it Haston? you had suggested checking out the common grave to see if there was any fresh burials. Is that right?
Yeah. I think maybe just walking around the graveyard, might give us an indication as to whether or not there have been any fresh burials. And if they are totally unmarked, that could be an indication of something. As I was talking to you guys, it seems like it might be unlikely if they were really doing something, as dirty as we think they might be. They probably would bury the bodies elsewhere, but there's a chance.
Yeah.
Well, with the amount of people coming in and out of the town, if there's some underhanded stuff going down, I would agree that they wouldn't be leaving things in the open.
All right. So you guys walk back down the hill and into Castronegro, at the center of town. There's the church. There's the cemetery. By now, though, you're in twilight. The sun is below the tree line, the hill line. There's still enough light to look at graves. You don't see any that look fresh. They all look pretty old. Some of them dimpled, because
guys, I'm actually getting kind of a knot in my stomach. We may have gotten lucky and not gotten hit by a bullet last night. I wonder if maybe we should just eat there in the inn instead of walking through the streets again once it's dark out.
Well, let's try the cantina and then go from the cantina to the inn and then kind of hang out there for a while.
Yeah, let's just go directly there as quick as possible.
And let's find Mr. Lane, because I'm as it's getting darker, I'm getting more and more concerned about his well-being.
All right.
And
Hey, Tom, quick question.
yes, sir.
Just I had a thought when you were talking about the Asian stuff in the shop. We've all, or at least I have, been basically assuming that the black hair and the green eyes is a Spanish feature. Would I tell by looking at them? Do they have an Asian feature?
Not really.
Okay.
Some of them have definite Indian cast, American Indian cast.
Right. Okay.
But yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to make that.
Most of them are quite pale.
Okay.
All right. So you're going to head over to Sancho's.
mm-hmm.
Now, what you find out when you get to the door is that Sancho's is actually considered a private club. It's how they kind of skirt around the prohibition law. It costs $5 to become members of the club, at which point you can get through the door. Because other people are probably going in too as you're getting there, you notice that locals don't get charged. It's typical. On the inside, it's basically what you would think. It's a few tables, actually maybe a dozen tables, and there's a bar set up at the far end. The building itself looks like it's maybe 150 years old. It's adobe and brick, a little more modern than some of the other buildings, but not as old as others. And there's quite a few people in here, maybe 6 or 7 people. Some of them look like they're just, they're done with work and they're having a drink. Some of them look like farmers. A couple look like American Indian types. And some of them look drunk already. Some of them look like local Villelas or Diaz's with the dark hair. Some of them don't.
I think we should maybe talk to some of them that don't have the green eyes.
Is Julius there?
You don't see Julius anywhere. Has you kind of nervous.
Kind of looked to our fellows. I don't see Mr. Lane here, guys. It's
Maybe we should ask about if folk have seen him, if he's been in earlier.
yeah. I'm getting worried. We've gone throughout most of the day here without seeing him, and
I approached
now I'm getting concerned.
I approach the barman and go and ask if he's seen somebody of Julius's description earlier today, and order some drinks.
He's washing glasses. He looks up at you and says, what can I get for you?
What do you want, guys?
Water.
Can I get an aviator?
It's an aviation.
Tequila?
Yeah, he probably has tequila. Anyways, he gets you guys drinks. You wanted to ask if he said, no, I haven't seen anybody like that.
All right.
Has the guy got green eyes, or is he a more normal human being?
Yeah, he's black hair, green eyes.
Fair enough.
If you ask him, his name is Gilberto Diaz.
Gilberto. I ask, do you get many visitors around here, Gilberto?
Mostly farmers' hands, town people, regulars, occasionally people like you.
Any questions for this guy?
Well, should we ask the obvious? Do you still have the photo of Godfrey? Do you want to see if he remembers seeing Godfrey in town?
Sure. We pull out the picture of David, Lane, and Godfrey, and ask if they've been in town in the last month or so. Too.
Well, he gives you more of a look, like you're bothering him, and glances down at the picture and says, "Never seen him." Goes back to cleaning his bar or glasses or whatever.
Hey, friendly place, guys. This is good.
I try psychology roll just to see if he was blowing him off. Or was it just really obvious he was?
Go ahead, do your psychology roll.
It's a pass.
He seems willing to serve you drinks, but he doesn't seem very talkative.
As soon as I get reception, I'm giving this entire town a 1-star on Yelp.
It may be. People come in here and say things to bartenders, and it's kind of the unwritten rule that bartenders don't blab. So he just doesn't want to talk about anything other than what drink do you want.
Okay, Sam decides to go for the opposite extreme, and I scan around the room to see the most old, non-green-eyed, drunken person in the room.
Well, there's a couple that are sort of that way. Most of them look a little bit more American Indian. There's one guy over in the corner though with brown hair. Looks like a white guy. He looks like he's 2 or 3 bottles to the wind at this point. He's got a silly smile on his face, and he's just sort of leaning against the wall in his chair. So he's in his chair and he's leaning against the wall, and he's got a bottle on the table.
Is he too far gone to even talk to, or do you think do I think I can get a conversation out of him?
It's hard to tell.
Okay, I go over to him and ask, "How are you doing, partner?"
Huh? Oh, who are you?
I'm just visiting town. I've been looking for some lost friends and relatives.
Have a drink. And he sets the bottle down in front of you. He says,
Say it.
James Whitlock.
Sam Steele, pleased to meet you.
I'm sorry. James is kind of a short, lumpy fellow. His hair is messed up. He's got a wild, unshaven sort of face. Looks like he's about 50, but he might be younger than that. He's kind of worn out looking.
Yeah.
So he's just sort of sitting
So
there.
James, do you live in the town here, or do you work around the town here?
He says, yeah, I stay over at Juan's place.
Oh, you live there?
More or less, yeah. I'm in room 2.
Okay, that's where we're staying as well. I just kind of gesture to the professors and say some of the professors over there from the university are with me, and we're staying over there as well. What can you tell us about this town? It's an intriguing little place.
Oh, jeez. The things I could tell you about this town.
Come
But
on, do tell.
You know.
Yeah, we know what it's like already. You know. Here, have another drink. You know. Thanks for the offer.
Don't mind if I do.
So, come on, James. I mean, I'm finding out that this lot are a tight mouth and, quite honestly, pretty ignorant bunch at times. You know. Is that your experience?
Ignorant? I don't know about that. I think they got to be pretty smart. Yeah, they're pretty clever, them people.
In what way?
Well, you know.
Yeah, I know. So, do you find it a bit strange being around this town for such a while?
Well, I take care of all my problems with this bottle right here. Well, not this bottle, but a bottle. It's just, you know, it keeps me from thinking too much.
Sam kind of leans in close and he says, "Hey, James, have you ever been told to mind your own business or to keep quiet? Have you ever had that kind of pressure put on you like we feel we have when we've been here?"
Who are you? Are you going to have to do a persuade roll? Who are you? And who are your friends?
Can I do something else instead of persuade? I've got 10%.
Do you have...
I've got psychology, charm, 30%, yeah. I'll do a charm. Is that okay?
All right.
Is that acceptable?
Yeah.
I failed 47.
Okay. So, who are you people?
Okay.
Why are you drinking water? What the hell is wrong with you? Have a drink.
I don't drink, sir.
Oh, well, that's why you're so uptight.
I agree, James. Have a drink, Professor. Come on.
Look. So what brings a bunch of guys from, where'd you say you were from?
Albuquerque.
What brings a bunch of guys from where that place you said? What brings you to town?
Well, James, can you keep a secret?
Sure.
Okay, I'm actually working with the professors. We've got one professor that was around this area and he went missing. So the professors here are really worried about him and I'm trying to help find him. I've got some skills in that area.
So you got missing people.
Yeah. More than one. In fact, one of our friends who's staying with us, and it's unfortunate because he's the guy with the most money. we don't know where he's gone. He's gone missing.
So you got more people going missing.
Have you ever heard of anything like that, James?
Oh yeah. People go missing all the time. You know, once they get it in their heads that they need one of them sacrifices, then they go all out and find what they need. You know.
James, shh, keep your voice down a little bit. Come on. So they go for the old style religion here then?
Yeah.
Like
You know.
what? Come on, tell us.
Well, you know, the people here go way back, you know, and you know, if you're here on the right day and you end up in the wrong spot, you end up, you know, there's lights up on them hills sometimes, and you know, they're dancing around and making all kinds of racket, and it ain't no like college kids or anything like that. It's just crazy shit, and you can hear awful yelling and screaming, and you know,
That sounds crazy.
Are
you talking about up in the hill? Are you talking about up at Bernardo Diaz's place or up in the other hills?
Well, you know, he's one of them. You know, he owns just about everything in this town, and I've seen, you know, what comes when those people are dancing around, and I've seen what, you know, where it goes.
What comes? What comes?
You know, the thing they call forth, and it, you know, it comes with them out to the shepherd's barn, and you know,
the shepherd's barn.
I know you don't believe me. I know it's like crazy. It's like crazy. You know, you wouldn't believe any of this stuff. You don't care. You don't care. Why would you care? You don't know nothing. You climb up them foothills one day, and you go over to that shepherd's barn and see what you think then, and take a canter at old Diaz's vault. Boy, you'll know then, just because, you know, it ain't just a drink. I'm not that drunk.
I believe you. I believe you, James.
Who are you again?
Sam, remember Sam? Your new best friend in town from Albuquerque.
Well,
I say, where is this Shepherd's Hill? Shepherd's Barn, sorry. Where is this Shepherd's Barn?
A shepherd's barn. You know, I've been out there, and I used to.
Is that where the monoliths are on the hill? The big statues, the stone.
He looks at you, and he looks confused for a moment, and then he sort of goes. He just completely passes out in front of you on the table.
I'm like, whew. Guys, did you hear all of that?
You notice Harlow being visibly nervous right now, despite the fact that and see shaking.
I push the bottle that James has just left us towards you. I say, what's up, Harlow? Are you all right?
Yeah, let's go back to the hotel.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm in for that. This place is just too damn. These people are nuts.
Well, I think that's a good spot to call it then. All right. Our players included Ken Trench, Jeff Wilkins, Ford Fitch, and Fred Carter, with yours truly as the keeper of the secrets. We're currently producing 4 shows a week with music and sound effects added in post-production in order to create a richer listener experience. We provide audio-only versions of our shows free for you to download from Podbean or iTunes. Patrons of our show can now enjoy recordings of our pre- and post-game conversations when we first publish them. Some of the funniest and most interesting stuff occurs before and after the show. If you would like to become a patron, visit our Patreon account. Just $1 or $2 a month will help us a lot. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel for updates on our latest shows, and leave us some comments. We love hearing from you. This is Tom Rayleigh, together with all the members of our gaming club, inviting you to journey with us once again into the darkness for another adventure into the universe of H.P. Lovecraft and the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. Until next time, good luck and good gaming.